Now is not the time to politicize the tragic floods in Texas that claimed the lives of countless innocent children and adults. That's been the official response from those who were warned repeatedly not to fire hundreds from the National Weather Service, who were warned that local emergency systems need major public investments, who were warned that the toxicity levels of an unsustainable economic structure are causing an atmospheric crisis, whose radical cuts in federal funding have now driven 75% of our best scientists to plan a mass exodus. Can't afford all that, said the people of the richest country on earth. How are we going to pay for it? Said the government is inefficient and can't do anything right, folks, as they turned around and spent $1.1 trillion for more bombing campaigns overseas, killing countless innocent children and adults trapped in bombed-out camps, fenced in by religious affiliation, as they allocated billions more in policing and prisons, $2 billion alone just to one CIA contractor, so they can add AI functionality to their war games and better spy on Americans with newly released IRS data. $855 million they gave to Border Patrol to play with new cars and trucks, while they blame immigration for poverty, street crime, and drugs. And how are we paying for this record-breaking budget? Oh, by cutting the stuff that taxes exist to fund in the first place. The fundamentals of a safe and functioning society. Healthcare, schools, clean water, reversing and adapting to the empire-made climate crisis, and most of all, for experts in the sciences to help design optimal systems for human life, also known as regulations, another word for standards. If we're not going to invest in any of that, well, then we can't call what we're paying taxes anymore, because taxes require representation and an actual return on investment. So let's call it what it is, a tribute, a submission payment, under threat of being disappeared by private gangs and Praetorian guards, which is what's happening anyway. Horror stories, day after day, ever since they did away with the rule of law and the rules-based order, the other thing they lied about caring for, along with any respect for Western civilization and its proclaimed founders, like Plato, Aristotle, and Cicero, who warned Athens and Rome that the ideology of militarism, the worship of personal wealth, this was a suicidal religion, and that any nation-state following that religion will collapse itself. But it's clear now that they don't actually believe in any of the things that they claim to. It was all a cover, and now the mask has been torn away, and what we can see plainly was described in The Tempest, that hell is empty and all the devils are here. That young people are getting educated on all of that, which is why they're attacking the universities, schools being where the white supremacist roots of all this chaos were not only being exposed, but pulled out of the ground. Hence the students, their protests against the US-backed genocide. The children had to once again bear the brunt of paramilitary forces under both this and the last administration, as we all bear witness to this empire in decay, panicking. The last time there was a public awakening this big was right after we defeated the first round of Nazis, when we were nationalizing banks, backing housing loans, creating Social Security, hiring millions and millions of public workers to actually make stuff, and building the first middle class in recorded history. And then we called for an economic bill of rights to keep it moving. That was the real MAGA movement. They stopped FDR, and then they stopped Dr. King when he called for a radical redistribution of wealth to care for all of humanity. God forbid that happens. And so they twist the very notion of humanity, the very foundation of Judeo-Christo-Islamic values, of natural indigenous wisdom, that caring for each other, the poor and the foreigner, our children, that this is the purpose of life on earth. Just like they corrupt the ideologies of Plato, Thomas Paine, and Adam Smith, and melt down at the idea of an immigrant mayoral candidate from New York opening an affordable grocery store. That's how extreme propaganda runs in the United States. Weren't we just told to worry about the prices of eggs? Healthy food? Meanwhile, our actual farm workers, who grow a third of our vegetables, are about to strike in the state with an Arabic and Spanish name, California, whose largest single population is Latino and Hispanic. And in cities across the world, there will be more marches and strikes, and the people will boycott and divest and sanction, and we will shake the walls as more and more are waking up to the realization that we have far more in common with each other than we do with the 4,000 squabbling representatives of a dying empire, keeping us divided and conquered, and who would rather we not politicize things during times like these.